Okay, so we've already got the top one on. I don't know how well you're going to be able to pick this out. Basically super glue, and I'll show you how I did this one in a second. So if we just pop this one down here, hopefully it's going to be one of those things where it's going to be more sort of showing you than actually doing it. Now, when you look very carefully along the side here, you'll see a little tiny spot, and this is actually an antenna area going into the main fuselage itself. So what we need to do is recreate that, and it's one, to be honest, that most people forget or they miss, or for whatever reason they don't put it on, but it is quite an important one. Two ways of doing it. You can either drill a hole into the side, thread the thread in there and bring it out, or you can just spot it. Now this is onto a decal, so it's a bit tricky because if it pulls, it's going to pull the decal with it. So what we're going to do, we're going to drill it. So we find the hole itself, and obviously it's one of those ones where we need a bit of light. So there's the hole. Okay, and it's just in like that, and all we're going to do is just pop in with our drill and just give it a couple of turns. Now we're not going to drill all the way through this. All we want to do is just make a hole so we can glue into it. Hopefully you might be able to see that. It's just down there in there. So what we're going to do, and due to its nature of the shape, it's quite hard to show you. Always get too much thread you need. It's easier to cut this down than it is if you've got too much. You grab a load of thread, cut. Try and keep your cuts as clean as possible, purely because it just makes them a bit easier. Now what we're going to do, we're just going to get some super glue like this on our finger. Alright, and we're just going to run it up the edge, right the way to the end. Okay, and then just twist it between your fingers. And what this will do, it will just soak all the threads together and give you a nice point at the end. And this just makes it a lot easier for whatever you glue your thing is sitting into. Also, it will give a slight bit of rigidity to the end, so when you poke it in, you'll be okay. So what we'd do, we just get a cocktail stick, super glue, this is a medium type one, into the hole, pop it in, give it a bit of a twist around, okay, come in with your thread, okay, poke it in the hole and just stand it in there and leave it. Now you could just speed this up a touch with a bit of kicker. Just remember your kicker, try it on some paint first. Don't go around spraying it all over your model, because if it's not a particular safe variety, you can end up being in all types of trouble. Now don't worry about if your decal goes a little bit white or whatever colours it is, because what we'll do is we'll pop around afterwards and just give this a bit of a touch up as is needed with a little bit of blue or white or red or whatever colour. So just another kick. All in. Now normally wait about 10 minutes before you try this. Okay, then all we're going to do is pull it out. As I say, if we just move the camera up a little bit, you can see to what we're doing just here. Okay, if we just bring you in, just move this around a little bit. Okay, so we have it out. So off of the thread, you see on the big camera, it just comes off of here, down to here, and as you can see, there's a little spot just at the back there. And then all we're going to do is just thread these two together. So same thing again, we're just going to get a little bit of super glue, place it on the area we're happy with, turning the cocktail stick up the other way. Okay, and obviously it's a little bit difficult for you to see as well. I'm trying to think of the best way of showing you. I'll try and do this backhanded, and then all we're going to do is stretch the thread down just a little bit, okay, and place it over the top of the other one and holding it down just like this. Now if you have got two hands, you can get your kicker, squirt it on. When you're happy it's in there, you can remove, and that's both threads coming off now. Bit more super glue on the top because we don't want this to move off. Okay, just down on there, and make sure it's nicely all over. So we're going to paint over this anyway and just touch it in so we don't have a horrible super glue mark. Okay, that goes on like that. Bit more kick up. Dry all that down. Then very sharp knife. And there again, I'll try and do this backwards. Okay, we're just going to come along in like this. Okay, and just slit the excess thread off. Here we go. Taking that off, and there's your joint. So by the time we paint this in, as you can see on the close-up, it'll be quite nice. So there we go. Now, hopefully, you can see we've got aerials running down through the back to the end. We've got this one just going in there, and the others down there. Now, I've already just knocked the top one slightly, so we'll do a quick repair job on here. Just like so. So there we go, that's our wiring done from the back right the way through. And it's just this little touch of having an extra aerial makes all the difference. Now once it's dried off, and it's certainly looking a lot nicer, get you back in, there we go. When it's all looking a bit nicer and dried totally, I'm quite happy. What I'm going to do is just pop along with a little bit extra thin and just touch all these aerials. There again, it's like a double system. Super glue is great, and they ping off, which is very nice and handy. If you're doing it in transit and they ping off, as long as they're in a confined box, you can find the gear, stick them on, not a problem. When they're welded on, obviously with an extra thin, if they do come off, they can be an absolute nightmare, because obviously you've got to try and find them and get them going again. Now, one of the last things we've got to go on here is the windscreen wipers, and now we've sort of sorted out this front area. Obviously, as I said, we've still got a touch in, a few little touches in there, but that's just something that's just going to take a bit of time. Now, drop these down in here. Let's hook these out a second. So windscreen wipers painted black, all done. And then obviously what happens is, don't make the mistake of they're going to the front, they actually go to the outside. So what we'll do, we're just going to try and line these up quite nicely. Now let me just check a reference photo. Arms to the inside. Okay, so PVA glue, obviously, because obviously it's going onto a clear part, so we just got some of the gator glue. Tiny drop down the back, okay, and then what you can use is a pair of tweezers or something similar, because what we want to do is just literally pop these in. So what we do, we'll hold the tops to the bottoms. And there we go, that's one in. Just like that. Okay, we'll just go same with the other side. Touch on the bottom. Okay, in like that. Remember, the least glue you can use, the better. But there we go, that's those now in the front, looking like that, off to one side, so we're quite happy with those. As I say, little pitot tubes, we've attached those as well, that's those little tiny bits down the front and in there. So really, we're almost together. All we've got to do now is obviously we've got to install the boarding door, so we just put that together. Straightforward, it's going to be gunchip dark gold grey. As with the rest of the interior colours, and then also what we're going to do is just replace some of these little parts at the back. Now the great thing is, if you look around your sprue, things like that, I know some people go stretch sprue and stuff like that. Down here we've got little handles which aren't actually used in this kit, and they're the same dimension as the back. So all we're going to do is break them off, and then we can reattach those. So you can straighten them out, being quite thin plastic. So as I say, just use some extra bit that you've got floating around on your kit. So we just turn this guy around. Okay, we've got a broken one just down the back here. We just move this up a touch. Here he is. So all we're going to do, get our bit, so we just cut him off because we want it to roughly the right length. Okay, quick dab in the old super glue, come up, plonk him on the end, let go, job's done. Oh well, you can actually see that down there, but there we go, aerial on, replaced, fixed. Touch of paint on there, nobody would be anyone will be none the wiser. This one here, which is slightly bent but hasn't actually fallen off on the other side, if you come along with a little bit of extra thin, just give it a dab, it'll be enough to refix that and weld that in place and hold it on. Obviously if it's gone too far it will melt through and cut the thing off, but hopefully it will just sit like that. So that's done. Check your other ones on there. Then all we're going to do is come along with a little bit of flat back and we'll paint them black. Job's done. So we just got the clear lights to do red on the top and things like that, so we can do that just a second. So here's my really thick gooey red that I use, but it's great because you can just plump it on the top like so. Okay, needs a bit of colour on the underside part, but there we go, same onto here. So we just do the brown parts around that and that one's done. So that's okay with those. So really the final part for dealing now is these actual wing sections. As I said again, decide which side you want to fix it on and then you can get in there. But as you can see now, these have been drying, they're actual dry, so the red lights are showing through quite nicely. So we can just come along, hook these on any way you want them to go. So we're just, for argument's sake, we're just going to pop this guy in here like that. We'll fix him up to the top. There we go, in there just like that, looking the business, looking very, very smart. So I'm quite happy with how it's going to go. So I'm just going to finish off these few little bits, sticking them on, and we're all ready for the final reveal. Okay, and there we go, all finished off. Couple of little things we've done. If we just pop this off, we can see it all a bit easier. Obviously, I haven't fixed the frisbee on, and the wings aren't fixed on either, so they can be removed, as we said before. Same with the props. They come off just to make transportation a little bit easier, but they're a good fit and they all sit on there quite nicely. Okay, the boarding ladder itself, that's a quick repair job. I've lost the parts somehow, so actually what we've done with the boarding ladder, I've scratch built that to make that fit and work, to feel like, because I did want it open because obviously it is in the powered down stowed position. A couple of points to really sort of make out. Take your time with these nauticals, that's the major headache of the kit. The rest of it goes together absolutely beautiful. It's not a straightforward kit by any means because of the way it all folds up and stows and things like that, and getting these clear larger parts on the front is always a bit of a problem. But there again, showed you going through it. Take your time, test fit, make sure you're happy with it, how it all goes and everything else like that. But as I say, the secret really with this particular kit, as with any of the Kinetic ones, is taking your time and just really, you know, test fitting. If you're not happy with it, you know, there's usually a good reason. Check to make sure you've got it all lined up okay, everything else like that. As I say, it's a great kit. You know, the only other version we've had of this has been the resin one, and quite frankly that one is a nightmare to work with. Having built the other one, the resin one, and now I've done 3 of these are absolute gem to work on. A couple of things really, as I say, I just want to mention the little locating pins for the wing top. As it goes on, you're going to have to open them up. It's quite important. If you don't, it's a real nightmare. And then also with the engine nauticals as well, those locating pins, just take care of those, cut them off if you want to, and marry it up. Just cut off one side of it and then it will fit fine. It will save a lot of headaches as well. The other thing I did, which didn't mention at the time, was the actual the little APU unit down there I had on the wrong way round, so I've actually taken that off now and corrected that, somehow going mad. The little lights, they've all been put on here on the back. There's one on the underside as well, so we've gone around and we've done those and put those on, as have we done the little activator bars which are going to pull through this wing section to do it. As I say, it's all nice loose fitted, but it's one of those things, if you're having it at home, it might be an idea to leave the radome as a loose fit, because you can look at that lovely detail under here. Otherwise, when you're on, you lose quite a bit of it, you can't see. So having it off is a nice way to see all that nice detail and in there, things like that. There's no real problems with the kit at all, anywhere at all. As I say, just those locator pins, really, that's the only problem that will call out for it. The instructions are a little bit iffy, so just make sure when you're running through that you really got it worked out how it's going to be, you know, before you go in and commit to glue. That's always a little safe thing. But as I teach people when I'm building, you know, test fitting is a key. You can get rid of loads of problems by doing things like that. As I say, little aerials on the back, we've replaced those ones as were necessary, things like that. We've done the little wire system for the one that goes down to the actual fuselage itself, so we've done that one as well, which is a little bit different and a lot of people don't seem to have done actually doing the kit. It's been a great kit to work on. I hope you enjoyed the build. If you have, join me again next time.